The budget. I'm a public employee. I work for the state of Pennsylvania. And more than anything, it's not just about a fair budget for me or fair budget for education. I have a 103-year-old grandmother. And the funding that they cut affects her, I think, more than me. If heaven forbid, I could find another job. She's 103. The resources that she's given through Medicaid and other state funding through her long-term nursing care facility, that's how she lives.
I'm here today to represent my members of the hospital and my union to fight for a fair budget, to protect our pension plans that we have worked so hard for and are now possibly in jeopardy, as well as the clients that I take care of whose services would not survive in the community without state funding to keep them in normal living conditions that you and I are in.
So I serve on our local planning commission, so I'm very much aware of the challenges that local government faces and frankly the lack of support we're getting from the state for the things that we need to do as a community. It's the particular area that I'm excited about and interested in is the environment, and we have lots of environmental challenges that we really need the help of DEP to solve.
I'm here with afl-cio 668, supporting a fair budget for especially human services.
Well, I think it's really important that we hold our state legislature responsible for upholding the social services in the public works that benefit the middle class and middle America, and I think that in light of a federal government that is refusing to uphold these, it's more important than ever that we act on the state level.
But we're here to fight for our rights, and our seniors need to live in dignity, and us as being home care workers, we need to get the proper recognition that we deserve. We want to fight for $15, $7.25, and $7.50. That's a poverty wage, and we need an increase.
Oh, I'm here with SEIU Healthcare PA. That's my union. I'm a healthcare worker. I work in a nursing home, and I'm here basically to talk about raising the living wage and to talk about the budget cuts.
Because I'm a union delegate at a nursing home, I came out for them, but I'm also a mom who has children in universities, and it's very costly. And with so much effect and change going on, you need a voice. I need to be out there. I need to rally for the seniors and advocate for them. And I need to advocate for my children for the future. So I must be here. I must be in attendance. I must let them know that you are going to be heard today.
I have been an employee of the Commonwealth and the Department of Human Services for 27 years. I have dedicated my working life to serving Commonwealth's most vulnerable citizens, and the budget is going to adversely impact them if House Bill 218 is passed. Our seniors who count on our Medicaid services, families dealing with issues with their teenagers that are having mental health or substance abuse issues can be negatively impacted by this bill. And this just grieves me as somebody who has spent 27 years trying to help these populations.
I'm out here today to fight for a fair budget for our schools and for health care. The budget impacts two things for our family: the health care and the education of my son. Without a fair budget, the cuts that will be done to the health care will cut out some of the programs that are funded underneath his health coverage for him to have the services that he needs in school. And the cuts in the school system will cut out some of the teachers that need to have the training that they need to know how to deal with the kids that are specialized with ADD and HEAD. And they have to, know how to deal with these kids and not just dismiss them as being behavior issues and not wanting to learn and unable to learn. They're able to learn. They're smart kids. They just need to learn in a different way. And we need to show that, everybody is not in the cookie cutting mode. Everybody learns differently.
The budget cuts impact me personally because I have a pre-existing condition. I have cardiomyopathy, and I also have anti-cardiac antibody syndrome. Both conditions I take medication for. They're life-sustaining, and if there's budget cuts, like right as of right now, my medical was cut because of the budget cuts. So it's affecting me, it's affecting the person that I care for, it's affecting my children. It affects me every day.
Right now I'm in college, so the education budget, it really affects me. There's a constant anxiety surrounding me and my peers about whether or not we'll be able to afford school, loans, even closure of campus, which is getting to be a real possibility.
It would affect me personally because I've seen it already where U.S. shops or U.S. workshops for my clients that cannot hold a normal job, like myself or a family. These shelter workshops have provided them income to survive in the community, and when the funding was cut for those, many of them ended up returning to the state system in the state hospital because they could not care for themselves, which of course becomes, if they're a danger to themselves or other, and their living conditions were taken away because they couldn't do it anymore. So I've watched that personally. And on the other side of that, my pension, I've worked very hard for 24 years in the Commonwealth and have been the person that worked every holiday and everything, and now knowing that's probably going to be my only income when I retire, with Social Security being threatened as it is to be privatized, it's the only way I will be able to survive when my time comes to live.
Well, my main concern personally is I have 2 children with autism spectrum disorder, and they are supported by services through, they were supported through services through the school district, and now they're adults going to school and training programs, and they're getting support of the through OVR, the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, and I would like to see funding for that continue so that they can lead successful lives.
If budget cuts are made, it would personally affect me because I have a history of fibroids. So that means they would do away with the Obamacare as well as Medicaid for my consumers. So it would really affect me because I have a history and I need surgery, and I had surgery in the past. So it would really affect me if the healthcare system went away totally.
I personally feel like if we had a higher living wage, that I would get more help at my building. Staffing's very hard in nursing homes because we don't pay adequate. So people have to work 2 and 3 jobs, and we feel 1 job should be enough.
To me personally, it would make my work life, to be blunt, a living hell. Having to say no to people who are so in need of our services. To only say, I'm so sorry, that's been cut. You no longer qualify for medical because your low-paying job has just put you over our income limits if we lose Medicaid expansion. There are so many working families that rely on that so that they can get their blood pressure medicines to continue to work, so that they can get their diabetes medicines, so they can continue to work and not face the fear of organ damage, amputations. And for me, as a compassionate person, to say no to them would just grieve me.
It's a pact with all of the citizens of Pennsylvania that we all take care of each other through work, through aid, through service. And that's why there's a moral duty on even me as a public employee to do the best I can every day.
I think the biggest thing is that just about every citizen is affected by these sort of programs at some point in their lives, whether it's when they're young and they're in school, or whether it's when they're aging or a parent. And by refusing to pay it forward when you have the privilege to, they're limiting the concept of a society being interconnected and helpful.
Because you never know if tomorrow, by some stroke of bad luck, it's going to be you that's going to have that need. And that is the whole idea behind insurance, so that, hey, I'm going to pay into this, so if I have that need, it'll be there for me. And, that is the bargain that is insurance.
I think that they should realize that we are and all of us are the future of our children as they're growing up. And human services provide not only for the children that we have now, but their children's children. And every time that you take from human services, you take from the future of this country. And human services is what provides care from food stamps to protection of our children from abuse, protection from our elderly and elderly abuse, protection of our mentally ill with their issues. And when you keep cutting from the services that can help with those services and keep our people safe and healthy, it's the future of our country here.
I mean, our children have to have something. People before us fought for what we have, and we need to fight for what they have. That's why I'm I'm a nursing home worker, because the elderly deserve our respect because they built this country. And it needs to pass on and go through generation to generation. If they don't care now, they're not going to have anything later. So it's just a revolving circle.
Well, I know that people are concerned about, people being taxpayers and contributing to society. And I think by these supportive services that they allow people to be able to be productive members of the community, to have gainful employment and be properly trained. I also would caution anyone who may be healthy now, that things can happen, people get sick, and you could be down the road somebody who does have a pre-existing condition, and then what are you going to do? Then you're going to really need that health care.
Their children may not have a pre-existing condition now, but their children may have children. Their children's children may have children. At some point in time, one of those children in your family somewhere down the line will suffer from a pre-existing condition, will suffer from ADD. So it's a fight to look forward to, because you don't want them to end up being without any health care or having to pay an astronomical amount of money to have their health care.
There's always some effect. It always affects all of us. We're all citizens in this Commonwealth. We all have an interdependency, whether we want to admit it or believe it or not. Even the man or woman who makes the most money in the largest corporate headquarters in the state of Pennsylvania needs a workforce in order to make the money, in order to have the stock options, in order to have the profits. So without us little people, you're really not making that much.
My faith informs my life, and I really do believe that what you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. And the folks that use that argument that this is a moral document to deny people Narcan so that they can continue to live, that just grieves me. And I hope that God will be merciful to them.